I've been avoiding this topic for the longest. It really causes me to be vulnerable and unapologetically honest. And for a while, I wasn't ready for that. There's always someone out there that's going to be judging you. That's just the world that we live in today. There's always someone out there formulating their own thoughts on how you failed or how you gave up when things got hard. And that's just something I have to accept, but I can't let that stop me from just speaking my truth, because this is my truth, and literally that's the only thing that I can actually speak to. I want this channel to be a safe space, not only for Kristen and I to share our stories, but for you to share your stories with us. I want this to be a space where we all feel loved and supported from people who we don't even know, from people all around the world. I want this to be a space where there's no judgment, there's no disappointment, there's just love and support all around. I learned that even if I have no idea what's going on, which is how I felt majority of the time during the situation, that he knows, and ultimately he has a plan. He is directing my steps throughout the whole journey, as long as I'm praying to him and I'm following him and I'm letting him speak to me and I'm literally taking the time to listen. I know that I cannot fail. I know that my decisions were truly guided by God, and I am confident that I made the right choice. So at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what people think of you. The only thing that matters is if you are walking in the steps that God has you to walk. Are you walking in your God-ordained purpose? Have you stopped, taken a second, and let him talk to you and let him speak to you? And are you confident, in the choices that you've made in your life, and are they God-ordained? Have you consulted him and poured out your heart and let the Holy Spirit whisper in your ear, to help confirm all of the things that you're feeling? At the end of the day, that's all that matters, not what other people think, not what other people say. If the answer is yes to all of that, then nothing else matters. Don't worry what anybody else on this earth has to say about you and your decisions. So with that being said, I'm going to tell you the story of why I decided to leave grad school. So it all started in 2016. I was a chemistry major, graduated with my degree in chemistry. And I would say a really big regret I had my senior year in college is that I was really focused in the here and now and just trying to graduate with good grades, that it was really hard for me to take time to step back and think about what I wanted to do in the future. I did research in college, so that was literally the only thing that was on my mind. That was the only thing I could see. It was very tunnel vision when it came to that. Everybody around me was PhDs, so I was like, why not? I was not passionate about chemistry in college, and I'm not saying your career has to be your passion, but it really helps, especially if you want to go into professional schooling. So I wasn't passionate about it in college. I just never took the time. I felt like it was a waste of time to kind of step back and to think about anything differently. So I was like, okay, let me apply to grad school. So I did, and I got into a couple places, but I decided to go to Texas A&M in College Station. They were giving me a good stipend. The research, I guess, it was okay enough for me to want to explore. It just seemed like the next logical step. So that is one regret that I had, and I really encourage anybody who's trying to figure out what you're doing after college, even if that requires taking a gap year, step back, take time for yourself, think about what you want to do and what makes you happy. Think about what you can see yourself doing for the rest of your life. You don't mind waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, go to bed super late, doing this thing. Put some thought into it, and that's something I didn't do, which I do regret. So I went to grad school. Grad school was cool and all. Being in grad school, I feel like was rough for me. I really think that just the environment that I was in, the town I was in, I think culture shock kind of took over me. It was a small town, not a lot of diversity, I'm just going to be honest. I was about 5 hours from home, so it wasn't really that bad to drive home, but it did take a lot. I know to get from College Station to Baton Rouge, you take I-10. And I-10, there's always traffic. It doesn't matter what's happening, it's always traffic. So I'm just like, why do I put in that effort? So I think being alone for the first time in my entire life, I went from living at home to living by myself and not knowing anybody, I think that really contributed to me falling into a depression state. And so that was my life for like the first year, but I think that I just really told myself to like push through it because this is my reality. There was never a time that I thought I would be doing anything different. There was never a time where I allowed my imagination or I allowed myself to think outside of the box of possible career choices. I knew from the beginning that some way, somehow, I wanted to grow up and I wanted to be a mentor. I still, to this day, want to create a diverse pool of mentors in STEM-related fields to show, the next generation or those students who never really have the opportunity to actually choose what they want to be because of their situation. A lot of the times we ask kids, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they only tell us what they see right in front of them. So if their mom's a teacher, if their mom's a nurse, or whatever that may be, let's say I want to be a teacher, I want to be a nurse, and we don't really give them the opportunity yet to think outside of the box when there's so many other things. You could be an executive director of some awesome corporate organization or some nonprofit doing high impact work, but we don't really give them that opportunity to answer that question just yet. So at the time, I wasn't thinking outside of the box. I wasn't really thinking about how I actually wanted to change the world, and I think that's a different question. Like, how do you want to change the world? So I decided to get my PhD in chemistry just because it seemed like a good logical step. So during my first year, yes, I was depressed. Yes, I was living alone and trying to get used to the whole thing. I also went through a terrible, terrible breakup during that time. And I also got into a new relationship during that time, who the person is now my fiance, and I thank God for that, for placing me where I was during that time, because if he hadn't, I wouldn't have met Justin. So all of that was going on. I was trying to keep up with my research, and I honestly think that I went through something called imposter syndrome. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of imposter syndrome, but it is basically when you are surrounded by smart, intelligent individuals, which is what my situation was, and I did not think that I belonged. I never really thought that I was that smart. I never really thought that I was that qualified. I never really thought that I belonged in this environment, because I would compare myself to my classmates X, Y, and Z. Grad school is a competitive space, so be prepared for that. And if you haven't seen my video of just some things I wish I knew before grad school, you should watch that. It is a competitive space. People notice you, people try to outdo you, and that's just the way it is. So when that's the environment that you're in, and before I even got there, I never even thought I was good enough. It's like I kind of set myself up for not believing that I could, and it wasn't till later when I finally made the decision that I just don't want to, that's when it just clicked, and your self-confidence and everything just begins to rise. But that was me during that first year, imposter syndrome, and I was in denial, but that's just what it was. And so that was me going through my first year, and I remember I was just sad, depressed, trying to make it, barely making it. I'm in grad school, you have to keep the beat average, and I was barely making it, barely making it. Your first year is the only year that you take classes, and so the second on is just supposed to be research. But I remember I made a C in some class, and so to counteract that, I had to make an A in another class, or I think I made 2 C's, I don't know, something like that. So I had to make an A in another class, but I had to take class my second year. So all my first year, living by myself, depressed, imposter syndrome, trying to make it, but making C's anyway. and, you know, just still believing that I have to struggle for the next 4 years of my life. Like, there is no other option for me. So I'm just going to be depressed this entire time. Going into my second year, taking another class that I had to make an A in, or else, you know, I would be asked to leave from the program. And I kind of wish that I had not made an A in that final class, because I would have been asked to leave from the program. And if that was the case, it would have been like, okay, Azzy tried, you know, her trying just wasn't good enough. They asked her to leave, and that's okay. But instead, I made an A in that class, and then the decision was on me to be like, okay, I cannot do this for the next, you know, 4 years of my life. So I still wish I had kind of failed that class, but I didn't. So I remember my relationship with Justin was fairly new, but when you're in new relationships, you know, you just talk about everything and anything. You talk for hours and hours. And a recurring topic of conversation was me not happy, in a depressive state, crying all the time, stressed out, you know, losing weight, gaining weight, just in my apartment by myself, you know, not going to class, just staying in bed all day. Like, this was life. And I would literally cry and cry to Justin and be like, this is so hard. Like, I am not happy, but I have to do this for the next 4 years. And he was like, you know, of course he didn't like hearing me like this. And he would encourage me, you know, like, you got this, and just trying to encourage me along this process to not make the next 4 years seem as awful as I was making it sound. He was like, you know, what are your other options? Like, how would you feel about leaving? And I was just like, I can't leave. Like, I can't. You know, something I really struggle with even to this day is disappointment, and disappointing the people that I love who expect so much from me. And sometimes I think I put too much pressure on myself, or I put too high of a standards on myself that the people who surround me, they don't even have that of me. You know, like, it's okay for you to make mistakes, you know, but sometimes I don't see it like that. I just put myself up here, and I'm like, you have to stay up here. And that's just pressure and stress that is not healthy, and it doesn't make sense. So at that time, I started, you know, trying to think of other options, trying to research other options, and I decided to leave with a master's. And just telling folks in the department that was hard, telling my parents was hard, but I feel like for myself, it was a personal milestone, because I had never done anything like that before, ever. I've never diverted from a path that I thought I was going to continue on for the rest of my life, or that everybody around me thought I would do. I remember a breaking point for me was reading a quote. I would like search all kind of articles, blogs, Bible verse. I was just reading for any type of motivation or any type of sign from God that I could get when helping me make this decision. And something I read, so this is something I read. Working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we love is called passion. The goal is to always do what we love. And I was just so stressed out all the time. My hair was falling out, weight was fluctuating, and I just pleaded with God all night and majority of the day. And I was on my knees, and I was reading books on how to hear the voice of God, because I was never sure if I did. I never knew if like I was just talking to myself in my head, telling me these things, or if it was the Holy Spirit whispering in my ear, trying to confirm everything I was feeling. I pleaded, and I consulted Him. And you know, that's why I said at the beginning of the video, like, if you have pleaded with God, if you have been on your knees, if you have cried your heart to Him, your heart's desire, And he hears you and he confirms you. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. Okay, because only God can tell you, well done and good, my faithful servant. Like, nobody else can tell you that. No one else can validate you. No one else knows your relationship with God or how you've cried in the middle of the night or consulted him. So it doesn't matter what they say, what they think. You do what God has told you to do, and that's exactly what I did. And that's exactly how I ended up here. You know, in a career that makes me happy, that makes me feel like I'm changing the world, that makes me passionate about getting up every day. I am, at this moment, creating that diverse pool of mentors to show kids who would not otherwise have the opportunity that you can be anything that you want. You can be a scientist, you can be an executive director, you can be a CEO, you can be an entrepreneur, you can be all of these things. Just tell me how you want to change the world, and I'll do everything in my power to help you get there. And I wouldn't be here if I didn't, you know, just make that decision, follow my heart, and follow the steps that God has already placed for me. He knows my purpose. And every day now, I feel like I am walking in my purpose. And it is literally the best feeling. I feel relieved. I feel joy. I feel grateful that I am in this place. And I decided to hop over that obstacle of disappointing people or feeling embarrassed for not finishing that PhD or just doing just all these different things. You know, when no one else on this earth really matters, because my salvation is not in your hands. You know, my salvation is in God's hands. And he knows my purpose. Nobody else knows my purpose. But yeah, I just told the story of why I left grad school. Deep breath. I hope this video wasn't too long. I hope you enjoyed my story time. And I hope somewhere along the way that you felt encouraged. If there is something that you're scared about, if there's something that you don't want to disappoint people about, if there's something that you just feel like is holding you back from your true passion, your true potential, and your true purpose, forget about people. Walk in your truth. Walk in the purpose that God has already set out for you. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, this just happened to be like my one thing that I was just going through the motions with, and I didn't take time to consult God about. So this is my thing. Your thing is different. It doesn't matter what it is. Consult him. Pour your heart out to him. Let him know your heart's desires. Let him lead you. And he will fulfill all the desires of your heart. So thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. Please be sure to like it, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for our next video.